55-year-old man with a beard looking neutral. A plate with food on it. A group of jellyfish. 58-year-old man with brown hair and a beard wearing glasses looking neutral. Probably a black and white bird.
Over the years, I've featured quite a few accessibility technologies, things that overlap with some of my other interests. We've got audio devices, for example, talking books. And then we've got technology, the devices themselves, how they worked, and they're often things that a lot of people haven't encountered before, so it's something rare and unusual and interesting to show. And for that reason, I showed this device a few months ago, the Kurzweil Reader, and it is what it looks like. It's a large scanner, and if you haven't seen that video, the idea was for people who were unable to read documents for whatever reason, they'd be able to put them on this device. This would scan them in, do optical character recognition, and then text-to-speech, and then read them out. So the idea was originally for a blind person to be able to read documents, for example, posts that came to them, letters that they wanted to scan on here and have read aloud, without the assistance of somebody else having to do this for them. I mean, if you get your own personal post, you don't always want somebody else reading it to you. So that kind of idea. However, initially they were very, very expensive, only really capable of being bought by very rich or institutions with a lot of money, and people would go to somewhere that would have a machine similar to this. By the time this one came out, the prices were coming down a little bit, but you can see where this was going. With a kind of home computer boom and PCs and reducing costs, it became possible to have your own scanner attached to a PC and using a piece of software called Open Book, for example, it would do much the same thing. So that's where things sort of got up to after this. I wanted to go forward in time a little bit to, well, 2009. That's when this device came out. This is the Intel Reader. So this is, I'll say, a handheld device. It's quite a chunky thing, a little bit sort of out of date it feels for 2009 to me now, bearing in mind that sort of smartphones were around during this time. But we've got a colour screen on here, we've got a camera on the bottom with a flash, and the idea was that you'd put your piece of paperwork down on a table and you press a button and it would do much the same thing, take a picture, recognise the text, read it aloud to you. There are a couple of other features in here as well. I was planning on showing this, but it's not the most interesting of devices. I'll just give you a quick demo, but after this we'll move on to the thing that this video is really about. Okay, just looking at the box quickly, Intel Reader, the mobile device that reads print aloud. On the side here we can see that this was packed on the 20th of October 09, and looking at the bottom it also mentions that it's copyright 2009, and it runs on an Intel Atom processor and it's got a fan inside it as well. It's in standby at the moment, so I'll just press the button there to turn it on. I've got it set to read out every item on the menu, which of course you would if you weren't able to see this, but you can also change the size of the font if you're able to see text of a certain size. But you see as I move down here, it'll read the things out.
Recent items, shoot mode, settings, help.
So the idea is I'm supposed to hold this like this, put it over the document I want to scan. Now, if I couldn't see this screen, I think it would be quite difficult to know whereabouts I was supposed to place this. Even if you feel down there and you go, right, that's there, you have to get used to knowing how high to hold this. But also if you go too far up, the text becomes indistinguishable for the device. Now if I just take a picture there, I'm going to do it by looking at the screen. Makes a noise. Seems to have got stuck. Oh no, there we go. It's taken a picture. Right, so now if I try to play that piece of text, I think it's that one.
Home menu processing.
It's processing it. So I can't listen to that yet. So I've just taken a picture of this paragraph here about the L cassette. And I'm waiting for it to finish processing. I think it should start reading as soon as it has finished processing, so we'll just listen out for that. But it's taking a while. It takes quite a while to boot up, and everything on it is just slow. I suppose it's down to the Atom processor in here as much as anything else, but the quality of the image capture is really low. I'm amazed that it's able to actually read anything at all, given the quality of the picture. Now, here we go.
Format the development and introduction of L cassette. Provides a new VARA inch, 3% inches per second DO cassette, incorporating the convenience of cassette with the quality of open reel. Listed below are some of the advantages over normal compact cassette tape and open.
So you get the idea, and then from there we've got a few options such as getting it to read things quicker. We can go into the menus here. Now press, that shows you the image that it took, and then that goes back to the text, and then if I press this button here I can adjust the speed. So we'll go to something a little bit crazy, 250 words a minute. It does go higher, but let's see if you can understand. Let's go for 300. Right, so we'll go back to the document and we'll get it to play that now. So there you go, that was a brief demonstration of this device. If you want me to show you more of this in the future, spend a bit longer on it, let me know. But I think that's all I want to show you for the moment because I want to move on now. So that's the Intel Reader, and I found this particularly tricky to use, even though I can see the device. Just the overall functionality, the getting around the menus, it's slow, you press something, you have to wait for it to happen. A very clunky experience, especially for something from 2009. But you can imagine where this went next, of course, because what we've got here is a screen, a camera, a speaker, some computing power. Well, of course, it's going to go into the smartphone, isn't it? And it would move to some kind of app or numerous apps, but I didn't know what the apps would be. But fortunately, over the years, I've come into contact with a number of people who would know things like this. There's a number of people that support me on Patreon, or people that I email back and forth who are either blind or partially sighted, people who subscribe to the channel. And one of those people is a chap called Andre Louis, and he's a musician, and he's in London. So I've never actually met him, but virtually online we've got in touch a number of times over the years. And in fact, he just sent me an email while I was working on the Kurzweil reader, which I'm pointing at, and it's disappeared now because I moved the screen out of the way. But yeah, he sent me an email about something unrelated, and I thought, oh, just the opportunity. Can I ask, what apps would you use if you wanted to perform something like the Intel Reader could do back in 2009? He says, well, it just so happens that I got in touch with the right chap, because Andre, being a musician, he'd done the sound effects for one app, and also it appeared in a video promoting another app. So there's a Microsoft one, and there's another one by a smaller company, and I always forget the name of this. I'm going to have to read it out. So there's Envision AI, and that's the one that he's done the sound effects for, and then there's Seeing AI, and that is from Microsoft. Now, Envision AI is for iOS or Android, and there are some glasses that you can get with this. When you press them, it will do various things. This is the thing that I want to show you, the things that these can do now, because nowadays, with the power of a smartphone, you can do so much more, and that's what I started off this video with, just a bit of fun at the beginning, but that just gives you an idea as to what these apps can do. Anyway, I'm going to demonstrate the other app, the one from Microsoft, because it's free. Unfortunately, it's only for iOS. And I just want to show you what this can do because it's absolutely fascinating. I've got to say, everyone I've shown this app to has been enthralled by it. Just looking at the functionality of it, you too will probably be fascinated by this as well. I hope you are, so let's have a look. Okay, so this is the main page of the application. That's the camera display there that's on screen. Top right, we've got a help key. This explains which feature we're using at the moment, what it does, but you can also play a video tutorial to show you in more detail. The features are accessible along the bottom here. Notice in vertical mode they scroll over the page. However, if you're using it horizontally, you can see them all at once. You can also use this on an iPad, and of course you get to see them all then at the same time as well. We'll just put it around this way for the moment. So this is short text, and this reads out short amounts of text. So not whole documents, just little things that you want to read. So, for example, I have a remote control here that says Sony, and if the camera sees that,
Sony,
it reads it out. Simple as that. So if you've got anything around the house that you're not too sure what it is, you can always just hold it in front of the camera.
Philips, made in Austria, low noise. Index, cassette.
I'll show you some more with the short text in a minute, because I'll get a pile of stuff and we'll see if we can work our way through it and figure out what everything is. We'll move on though. The next one along is document, which is basically the same as this Intel Reader. It's doing the same job, scanning a document and then reading it out. So we might as well scan the same document in we had before, which is our L cassette brochure.
Bottom and left edges not visible.
Now this is talking me through scanning the document. Remember before we had that problem where you weren't too sure that you got the document on the camera's screen, or whether you were holding it wrong or too close or too far away? Well, this will talk you through it. Let me just put it on its side this time.
Bottom and left edges not visible. Bottom edge not visible. Processing.
And the text has been recognised as quickly as that, which is a lot quicker than the other one. And then from here we can also play it back.
El Casita completely new audio tape format. The development and introduction of El Cassette provides a new 1/4 inch, 3% inches per second audio.
I'm not going to go through all that. You'll notice there's a few unusual pronunciations in there. But other than that, the text recognition is much better than the other ones. Let's move on now to the next feature along. So we've got the barcode scanning. And what I'll do now, I've got a pile of things. We'll scan as many barcodes as we can, and we'll also move on, and if we can't scan barcodes, we'll get it to recognise a short text, and then we'll see if we can work our way through a pile of things. And imagine we can't see any of them, can we figure out what they all are? We'll stick it on barcode first to see how many we can get from the barcode. So let's have a look.
Johnson's baby cotton buds 200 pieces.
Right, well that's that one done. Let's have a look at Marmite. Imagine I can't see it. I'm just holding this over here and I'll move the two things around.
Marmite yeast extract 250g.
Right, so it's got that one. So let's quickly go through these now. A Jamiroquai mini disc. What do you reckon? Is he going to get that one? Let's find out.
Jamiroquai, travelling without moving, minidisc.
Right, okay. Where's the party at? Cash Money and Marvellous. Right.
Processing. Not recognised.
Now that one's not recognised. We'll just leave that to one side. This one doesn't have a barcode on it at all because it's a more recent cassette. PlayStation 4 game. Let's just go through these quickly now.
Everybody's Golf.
Right, well that's alright. And then we've got a UHD Blu-ray box set here.
Jurassic Park Trilogy. 4K UHD plus BD plus Blu-ray.
Right.
2018 region free.
So let's move that out of the way. We're left with two things here that we can't do with the barcode. So let's move on to the short text.
Short text.
And let's start with that one.
Bad Boy.
Well, that's pretty good. Bad Boy Entertainment. Try it again.
Bad Boy Re.
Now, one thing that you notice over time is that it reads everything it can find, and it says, I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit dark, it says RI at the start, so there's like a load of numbers, it says RI, so it's reading that. So if I put my thumb over that...
Bad Entertainment.
Oh, that's a review.
X. Bad Boy Entertainment.
So you better figure out what that was, what cassette that was, out of these two anyway. So this one has got to be Cash Money and Marvellous Where's the Party At?
Where's the Party At?
What? Say that again.
Where's the party at?
Well, there we go. So we got through our pile. Yeah, it's a little bit odd in places. Okay, now let's move on to the most amusing feature here. Well, it is for me anyway. This is the one that identifies people. It will try and describe the person and their age, and the fact it's trying to give the age is the bit that really makes this quite entertaining. So you click on that one there, and you can take a picture of a person. You can take a self shot by spinning it around like that.
One face near top edge, less than a meter. One face near center, less. Processing. 56-year-old man with brown hair wearing glasses looking neutral.
That is the thing that is really good fun with friends. If you're just sitting around and you're pointing at each other, and you'll guaranteed to have a laugh when the camera starts describing you as the wrong age.
One face near center, less than a meter away. Processing. 62-year-old man with grey hair and a beard wearing glasses looking neutral. 56-year-old man with a beard wearing glasses looking neutral. 52-year-old man with brown hair and a beard looking happy.
As a serious use, of course, for someone who can't see, it describes the people who are around them, maybe someone that they recognise, and if the person that they know is happy with this, they can store their details in here so that when the camera recognises a person, it'll say, oh, there's Matt, for example. So that's the fun one. Let's move on and we'll have a go with this one which identifies currency.
Currency.
And we'll look at the money.
£5.
It tells us what it is. And you can, of course, change your currency at the top here. If we go into settings, there are a load of different currency settings. and I think it would be more useful in some countries than others. And now here's another really fun one. This one tries to describe your surroundings, and I've had a lot of fun trying to catch it out and also see what it's able to recognise, and it really is quite impressive.
Processing. A toy car in the grass. Probably a stuffed animal with a red heart. Probably a shelf of video games. A boat in the water. Probably a large pile of candy. A monkey sitting on a railing. Probably a small car with a door open. A burger on a plate. Probably a building that has been destroyed. Probably a shelf with many books on it. A car parked in a parking lot. Probably a shelf with many bottles of alcohol on it. A red scooter parked outside a building. Probably a pizza with mushrooms and cheese. 5 faces. A group of dolls. Ale hop. Ale hop, ale hop, ale hop, ale hop 10. Probably a helicopter flying over water. A red fire extinguisher. Probably a red and black vacuum. Probably a red and black coffee maker.
Now this one describes colour.
Orange. Red. Orange.
Now I'm sure there's people out there that are thinking, well, why would you want to pick colours if you can't see them? Well, example, you don't want to turn up at someone's funeral wearing a pink outfit, do you? But there are plenty of other less dramatic examples, I'm quite sure. Now moving on to the next one.
Handwriting. Preview.
This is handwriting recognition. Now there's a few of these things that are almost in beta. You know, they're not fully realised, they're kind of tech demos in a way, but the handwriting recognition seems to work quite well.
Processing. Handwriting recognition is impressive but works best on decent writing, which mine isn't. I don't tend to write by hand nowadays, Uniball I micro.
Yeah, it read the text on the side of the pen as well. And the final icon on the right activates a feature which detects light levels. A very little light is indicated by a low pitch, and then it works its way up to a higher pitch as the light level increases. So I'll block out the camera and we'll switch that one on.
Light.
And then we'll gradually increase the light. And you can use this like a bit of an organ if you want, or a theremin in a way, if you were able to control it a little bit better. But the idea with that is that, for example, one example Andre gave me, when he's away with the band, they're touring, he doesn't want to leave all the lights on in the hotel bedroom, but you know, when you travel anywhere, the light switches are all a bit weird. You flip one next to your bed and the light at the other end of the room comes on, that kind of thing. So he just points this around just to check he hasn't left all his lights on. So there's an example of a use for that. Now up here, you've also got additional features. You can browse through your photos and you can get the device to describe them, and it will also enable you with some photos to describe the scene and move your finger around the scene to describe what that particular item is. So there's a lot of features in here, and it's just definitely something that's worth experimenting with, purely to have a bit of fun with it if it's not a serious application that you need, but also perhaps something that you might want to show to people who would find it useful as well. Now the professionally offended, you know, the people that just want to be upset by everything, might think that it's inappropriate to have fun with an app that's designed for accessibility purposes. But I think that it's worth paying attention to all areas of technology. A lot of devices that we use now have come from somewhere else, whether it's your computer, the internet. You know, there was an earlier function for these things that has then morphed into what we use now. And for example, even in assistive tech, if you're just thinking about listening to an audiobook on Audible, of course, the reason for the audiobooks even existing goes all the way back to, again, people not being able to see the books and have them read to them. So it's worth paying attention to all areas of tech, not just a narrow subset of what the current consumer devices are. If you look at everything that's out there, you'll be able to see the way things are heading. And especially with regard to assistive tech, some of the most fascinating developments are taking place in that area. And it's things that you're likely to see move into your life, irrespective of your capabilities, in the future. So yeah, that's why we're looking at this. It is fun, it's enjoyable, you'll have a lot of fun playing around with it, but it's also fascinating to see the kind of things that your phone is able to do now, and then try and extrapolate that out in your mind to the future, and the kind of things that you'll be able to do with it in a few years.
Processing. Probably a white robot on a shelf.
Now, I'd just like to add in a quick section here, because when I first previewed this video on Patreon, the one thing that I got asked about more than anything else was how someone without the ability to see would be able to access the various features on an iPhone. How would they know what was on the screen? Well, it's all down to the accessibility features that are built into the operating system. The same goes for Android, but since I've got an iOS device here, I'll just quickly demonstrate what I'm talking about. So if you go into the Seeing AI app, people were intrigued about how someone would know, for example, that there was that question mark up there. How would they know to tap on that if they couldn't see this? How would they know that these options were in that hamburger menu? Well, you need to get yourself into your settings page and look down and find on an iPhone, iOS device, it's under accessibility, and there are loads of things in here that you can switch on which will make your life easier even if you can see your phone. So it's worth having a look through these. I've got a couple of things switched on, but the main one that you would use if you couldn't see what was on the screen is voiceover. This describes what's on the screen with a voice. Now, if you turn this on, your phone will act completely differently and it will be quite awkward to use if you're not familiar with it. But I've had a bit of a play around. I think I can work my way back to this menu again afterwards. So I'll just show you. So there's voiceover. We can access various other things in here, but we're just going to keep it basic. We're going to turn it on at the top.
Voiceover on. Settings.
Now, immediately it's telling me what that button is there. Now, just as before, you could tap on something on the screen.
Speech button.
But of course that relies on me having the ability to know that that's on the screen there. So what they add in here is the ability to swipe between the various buttons on the screen. So if I do this,
Verbosity. Audio.
I'm swiping to the right to move down.
Verbosity. Braille. Speech.
I'm swiping to the left to move up. Now if I want to get back to the previous menu, what you'd normally do is you just tap on that, wouldn't you? It's not doing it now, it's describing the button. So every time I tap it, I just get a description of what I've tapped on. So to get back, you double tap. Now you don't have to double tap on the button itself, you could do it somewhere else. So I can work my way up to settings, double tap, get back to the main screen again. Let's move into the other app now.
App switcher, settings, settings. Seeing AI, active, seeing AI.
Right, so we've got Seeing AI back on the screen now. Now, previously, these things at the bottom were described inside the app, but the other things around it are the responsibility of the operating system. So, for example, if now I press this question mark,
quick help button,
and I can tap on
menu button
to the left to move between them,
help button, channel, product, adjust quick help button,
and to select it, double tap. It takes me into it.
Heading. Done. Button. Hold the camera over a barcode to hear the product name. Bullet. List start. Move the phone over the product until you hear beeps that indicate a barcode is nearby. Done. Button.
Right, so I'm going to leave it there. You get the idea. That is how someone who can't see can get around their phone. Everything on the screen is described to them, and there's a slightly different way of navigating between them. Let's get back to the rest of the video. Now, if there's one thing I've learned from being on YouTube, it's that the comments tend to be more on the irreverent side. People tend to be dismissive of things. For example, on this video, I'd imagine people are saying, well, that's rubbish. It thought a coffee machine was a fire extinguisher. That'd be dangerous if you tried to put a fire out with a coffee machine. You know, so kind of jokey things. I know people are trying to have a bit of fun, but often it errs more towards that side and dismisses the positive side of things. For example, with this app, just try and put yourself in the shoes of someone who is unable to see anything at all. They reach in a kitchen drawer, they pull out a can of something. Is it beans? Is it a can of tuna? Is it peas? Is it corn? Well, you pick your app up, you scan the barcode, it'll tell you. If it couldn't recognise the barcode, you could probably read the text on it.
Spell mushy peas 300G. 4 seasoned sliced carrots in water 300G.
There is a degree of error with this app, but I'm pretty sure it will get that feature right. It's when you kind of push it into stranger territories, it finds things a little bit tricky to recognise.
Probably a camera on the grass.
But of course, bear in mind, again, if you're in your own home, you know where everything is. So you know your coffee machine isn't a fire extinguisher.
A butterfly on a flower. Probably a cat lying on a stone floor. Probably a puppet with a red and green face.
These apps, yeah, they get things wrong every now and then.
Processing. Probably a white electrical outlet. Probably a pair of white and black roller blades on a wooden surface. Probably a couple of soda bottles on grass.
But they get a lot of stuff right, and it's a lot more stuff than you got right before you had the app, so it gives you an ability that you didn't have before.
Probably a white game controller. Probably a globe on a stand. A pig in a fenced-in area.
And I think that's what it's about, rather than focusing on the, oh, it didn't get this right, you know, that kind of thing. And these things get better over time. And bear in mind, this is free, as long as you've got an iOS device. Free from Microsoft, which I think is great of them to provide such a well-rounded app free of charge, and that's why I've been able to play around with it, and I think you'll enjoy having a play around with it too. Whether you've got any degree of sight loss or not, just learning what your phone's able to recognise, the different angles, the different problems it has with things, what it can see, what it can't see, gives you some ideas about the future of image recognition and things like autonomous driving and that kind of thing, what your car would be able to recognise, for example, what a robot going around your house would be able to see. But on the image recognition side, a lot of it always gets bad press. You know, it's always about scanning someone's face, putting it in a database, following that person around, surveillance, all that kind of stuff. But there is a positive side to it, and this app proves that. It enables people who couldn't otherwise do things to do things. But anyway, I'm blathering a little bit now, so I'm going to finish this video, but I'm just going to say, look, links in the video description if you want to download any of these things, and links to videos with Andre and all that kind of stuff for you to learn more about all this, because it is a fascinating subject, and I'm sure you'll enjoy having a play around with it, and if nothing else, just finding out how old your phone thinks you are.
58-year-old man with grey hair and a beard wearing glasses looking neutral.
If nothing else, it's just fun for that. So that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.